In this video, I'm going to talk about how to create an assessment in Schoology. First thing you're going to do, of course, I could pinpoint any place I wanted to create it and place it inside a folder using the green dotted line with the plus sign. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to use the Add Materials pull-down menu here. So go to Add Materials. You will go down to Add Assessment, and it's going to bring up a Create Assessment window that you're going to need to fill out. I'm just going to fill out Practice. And you can see everything with an asterisk is a field that has to be filled in. Due date is not, but I would always set a due date so that it will be sure to show up on student calendars. So let's say I'm going to set it for next Friday. I could set a time too. By default, submissions are off. They are disabled, but I can also enable the submissions so that can take the test and submit it. I can enable it now until a certain date, or I can enable it from one date to the next. And that's actually the one I'm going to select. So I'm going to say I'm going to enable it on Wednesday the 10th until Friday the 12th, which is the due date. Password is disabled by default. You could put a password, enable a password for this exam that students would have to use, but I'm going to leave that disabled. You'll select your category, probably tests or quizzes. I'm going to use my practice category there. And everything else is set except for my options. I can individually assign, so I could assign this to just one student, several students, versus the entire class. By default, it's published to student, so the green circle will show up there, which means students can see the assessment. Right now, I'm not ready for them to, so I'm going to turn that off. So only I can see it, but they cannot. I'm going to enable grade statistics, and then you can't see it on mine because I'm enrolled in too many courses, but this is where you would be able to copy it to other courses. So you could create your assessment in this course and copy it to other courses that you need it in. I'm going to go ahead and click Create. And then it will take me directly to the setup portion of this. I'm going to go back for just a second and show you where it puts it at the bottom. You can see it's kind of grayed out, tells me it's unpublished, so only I can see it. Students cannot see it. And then I could also use this right here under the gear. I could move it to another folder if I needed to. And I find that sometimes that can be easier. You could grab, click and drag it into another folder, but sometimes it's easier to just use this move feature here. All right, so we're going to go back into the assessment. I actually click on it, and then I can start setting up the actual assessment. So for the remainder of this video, I'm going to talk about setting up the assessment. First thing is instructions. So anything you want displayed to the students before they begin the assessment, you will put in this box here. You have quite a bit of formatting options. You can insert an image, link. For math, you have ability to put in symbols, equations, but you do have a lot of choices there. But that is where you would put any instructions you would want the students to be aware of. Next are assessment settings. Each setting has a yes or no toggle to it. So you can set a time limit. You can randomize or randomly order the questions for the students and show possible points for each question during the attempt. So just be aware of what the default is for that. By default, time limit and randomly ordering the questions are turned off, but possible points being shown for each question is on by default. Next is the assessment toolbar. And again, be aware of what most of these are off by default. You can turn it on where students can flag questions for review, can eliminate answer choices, have the ability to use a calculator during their test, as well as a ruler, can use a protractor during the test. Then you can also provide the ability to highlight text or use a notepad. So that's all under Assessment Toolbar. And then student settings. You can allow students to view the results after their assessment is submitted. By default, that is off. You can set it to yes, they can see it, or yes, and with correct answers. So if you select yes, they will just be able to see how they did, but they will not see the correct answers. But you can choose for them to see how they did and the correct answers as well. And then the last one here is the number of attempts students can submit. It defaults to 1 time, but you can set it all the way up to 20. And then you would just click Save. And so that is setting up the assessment. So what we've covered is how to create an assessment, basically get it started, and how to get your settings set up. We will talk about questions and grading and reporting in subsequent videos.